and welcome to the Oakles channel. Thanks for watching today, and let's continue our journey to finish every single Game Boy Color game. Today focus on a game called the Addams Family for the original Game Boy. Now, this particular game is based upon the film of the same title, which came out in the early 90s, and I probably haven't seen this movie since the early 90s, and so I can't really remember a whole lot of the plot line. I tend to remember enjoying it, but I can't tell if it's actually a good film or not because it's been so incredibly long. But overall, I chose this video because obviously it's the Halloween season. Today, it's actually Halloween 31st, so happy Halloween if you're watching today's video on the original release date. But I also chose it because me and my wife recently finished up the Wednesday television show, so obviously our interest in the Addams Family is at an all-time high at the moment. I will say season 2 was not quite as good as season 1. I think about halfway through season 2 it hit a peak, and then it sort of went downhill pretty darn fast toward the end of it. But it's not a review of the Wednesday show. We are here today talking about Addams Family for the Game Boy, which is for the most part a pretty average platformer. There are a few interesting aspects about it, as far as like being a sort of choose your own direction that you want to go in, or choose your own order for the adventure, a few different power-ups and a few different weapons that you're going to get as you go as well. And obviously all of the core characters are in it except for one, and there's a very important omission from this game that they chose to not include for whatever reason. But let's go ahead and dive into the Addams Family for the Game Boy. Now, I start the videos off looking at the box art for the game first. And the box art here is exactly the same as the movie poster. You have Lurch, Morticia, Gomez, Uncle Fester, Pugsley, Wednesday, and I think it's Grandmama, if I'm not mistaken on that, is Morticia's mother. I know they called her that inside the Wednesday show, but I'm not really sure they actually named her in the game. But all these characters are in the game, at least their picture anyway. You are going to play as Gomez, but the one huge omission is right there in the center at the bottom, little hand thing. He is not in the game. He's a huge character in the Addams Family. He's a huge character in the lore in the new Wednesday show. And he's on the cover, but he's not in the game. And I feel like it's a pretty big omission because he is a fan favorite within the universe here. But overall, I mean, if you bought this game, you wanted to play Addams Family, you wanted to be based on the movie because it was popular at the time, you know what you're getting. Now, when you load up here, you do have the title of the game itself, a wonderful little 8-bit rendition of the Addams Family theme song playing in the background, and then we have the overall story starting up here. And it basically says that the Addams Family has been evicted from their manor here, and a family member, her name is Tully Alford. I presume she was in the movie. It's been so long, like I said, I'm not positive. But she's taken over the mansion, and then all of the Addams Family goes back to sort of like renegotiate with her, and she kidnaps all of the Addams Family except for Gomez. And so you're going to play as Gomez to try to go back into the mansion and rescue all of your family members and put it into Tully Alford's reign here. And you are going to notice once again the entire game is in black and white. However, is there not a more perfect game for black and white color palette on the original Game Boy? I mean, it's like a match made in heaven here. But like I said, you are going to be playing as Gomez, and then the game begins. Now, you do have two moves that you can use. If you press A, you can jump, and if you press B, then you can attack. And you start off like a little sword attack, and it's sort of like in a Ghost and Goblins. You throw it out in front of you. Looks very similar to Ghost and Goblins, as a matter of fact. I don't know, was Gomez's like core weapon or core, I guess, skill set in the Addams Family universe, using a sword? Because in the Wednesday show, Wednesday's all about fencing. There's part of the plot in season 1 where Gomez is using a sword, ends up killing somebody in the past, and I don't know. And if I did some spoilers, I apologize. I think all that's mostly spoiler free. But is that a core aspect of Gomez's character, having a sword? I'm not sure, but there is a limited amount that you can use the sword. You have a little bar in the bottom right hand corner, and you throw the sword out in front of you and it continues going down. You have to get like little potion bottles to refill that back up in order to continue using your sword. And later on in the game, when you get extra weapons, you can rotate between them. So if you run out of power on one weapon, you can of course swap over to the other one and continue going until you find yourself another potion to power back up. Now, the game doesn't really tell you like where to go inside the game. It's fairly open-ended, and for the most part, you can sort of choose whichever direction you want to go in, as long as you rescue all the individual family members. However, if you do want to go in more of a specific order, the manual itself does give you a layout of the exact order of where all the members are located at, and sort of gives you a, I guess, a roadmap of how to go through it. So we are going to follow the manual here as far as the order that we're going to go through. So I start off as Gomez, and you're heading off to the left-hand side, and we begin to work our way through the cemetery forest here. Now, for the most part, you only have two enemies in the cemetery forest, these little ghosts that come down, and you throw one sword at them, and they fly off the screen when you hit them. They are very intimidated by that sword. And then there's the bats, which bats actually take 2 hits, and they don't fly off, they just sort of explode on the spot there. Nowhere near as violent as it might seem. It's just like little puff of cloud there. But anyway, you're journeying through here, and it's a very repetitive little area. It's just simply those two enemies that continue reappearing over and over and over, hopping over tombstones, and the same background just simply repeats for like the entire 2-minute segment here that you're journeying through the cemetery forest. Not a great level, but still, it's nothing. There's no crime or anything. It's just simply a very average sort of boring level. When you get to the very end here, you go into like the little mausoleum, and you're going to approach the Grim Reaper. Now the Grim Reaper is throwing out, I guess, like little souls out of his mouth at you, trying to attack you. A cool little I don't know, boss design, and all you have to do is just simply continue to throw your swords at him and avoid the souls that are coming out, both with your weapon and yourself, not to take damage, and you'll have the Grim Reaper taken out in no time. Now when you take him out, it means you have rescued Wednesday. She does give like a little speech here. It's very much in Wednesday's character, and then she gives you the weapon of a golf club, and this is like the most useless weapon in the entire game. I can only assume this is like sort of like when you run out of all ammo on every other weapon, and sort of like basically the same thing as like having like a punch. It's not like a shooter game. Clearly the worst item, but you know, it is what it is. You have to rescue Wednesday anyway, so at least you got something out of it here. And then you have to work your way back through the cemetery, which is fairly dry here because you've already gone through it once. You head back to the mansion, and I'll acknowledge the first time I got to the mansion here, I didn't really know where to go. I sort of explored out a little bit. I didn't realize you could actually go inside the mansion. It was by simply pressing the up button. That admittedly did throw me off a little bit. It shouldn't have, but I wasted a little bit of time here. But once you do finally go into the mansion, you can journey off into your second level. But while you're searching for that level inside the mansion here, it does remind me like a little bit of the overall graphics of the Home Alone game, which is not really a compliment because that game was pretty terrible, but it does remind me a little bit of the graphics there. This game does play better. I'm just saying, like, the overall aesthetic reminded me a little bit of that. You journey off to the right, and you go down into the basement here. And once we are in the basement, then we have to find the incinerary, and we go into the incinerary, and then we're approached with probably the most difficult level and difficult boss inside the game, because you're basically traversing here on top of these little pipes. These little mice are trying to attack you, and down below is, of course, the fiery furnace trying to burn you. And the hardest part of this is just simply there's no way to look up the camera or down the camera like in a lot of games, which does force you to take a lot of blind jumps here. And when you do take those blind jumps, sometimes you end up falling into the fiery furnace down below, and you don't just take damage, you just lose an entire life like straight out the gate. And considering you only have 5 lives in the entire game, this is a pretty huge punishment here. And so you pretty much have to memorize the level of the trial and error, because the blind jumps are just simply atrocious. Now there are ways to try to avoid the blind jumps, like if you don't jump too high in certain areas where the camera follows you up and just sort of stays there, but there's no way to know that, and so the game is clearly flawed in this particular area. But then when you get to the final boss here of the fiery furnace, you go up against the I assume is the devil here, and he is by far the worst boss in the entire game. Every other boss in the game, when they hit you, sort of you have a couple of invincibility frames, enough time to move away, you know, recharge yourself, get back into the mindset. The demon here, when he hits you, there is no damage, like as far as like iframes, you know, invincibility to back away. He just continually to drain your health every second, or every half a second, or every 1/10 of a second. He's on top of you, and if he's on top of you for like a solid, I would say maybe like 2 seconds, you've lost every bit of your life, and the entire level is over. He is a very hard boss because his entire attack is just simply to follow you around the screen, and you have to just simply keep throwing your swords out at him, trying to take him out. And he took me several tries, and I feel like the game perhaps misprogrammed him a little bit, where he's not actually supposed to just simply continue to zap your health away, but he was probably supposed to like actually hit you and knock you back with those iframes, and you might fall into the fiery furnace down below. That's what I think. I think it's a flaw in the programming. I could be wrong on that though, because it's just simply the way it's done. It's the only time in the game, and it just feels really unfair. However, when you do finally defeat him and take him out, you have rescued Grandmama, and she gives you a fiery coal as a weapon, which makes complete sense because, you know, you just get done fighting the incinerary here, or the devil, and now you have like a little fireball that you throw out in front of you instead of the sword, if you so choose to use that. Also, like I mentioned earlier, if you run out of the entire ammo of the sword, then you can swap over to the coal, and you can go through all of that ammo. So there is a weapon resource in the game as well. And there is one thing I forgot to mention about inside the fiery furnace here. There's items you can pick up. It turns you into like a werewolf, and allows you to go a heck of a lot faster inside the level, but it's a seemingly mostly useless power-up, and when you get to the boss, the power-up goes away anyway. And so this power-up here, I didn't really find any benefit to having it whatsoever. However, the next power-up is mandatory for the game and is very important, and it's like a merman or creature from the Black Lagoon power-up. And if you journey back into the mansion, go up into the upper left-hand corner, You have to go through a hole in the wall, but before you go in there, you do get the power up, which sort of turns your face into the merman looking face here. And when you go in there, you can actually swim inside the water, which is a huge plus, because if you don't pick up the power up, you just simply die as soon as you touch the water. Now the swimming mechanics are just terrible here. You hop into the water and you would think like the A button would be your swim button or the B button would be your swim button, but instead, as you're sinking down to the water, you have to press the up button, and by pressing the up on the D-pad, that does allow you to swim up. And I guess that does make like some sense if you just think about it like logistic wise. However, every other game out there, swim is always A or B button on the controller, because you can use that way you can use the D-pad to go back left and right. So what you're stuck with here is pressing the up button on the D-pad and then quickly pressing the left button or the right button as you're sinking back down from pressing or from the lack of swimming here, and then press up again a few times to get some extra height, and then start pressing your D-pad to go off in that other direction. It is just a very annoying mechanic, and if you mess up, you hit the spikes at the top or the bottom, and you pass away that way. There's some little fishies you have to take out as well as you're going through here. Not the best level in the game, and I would say it's probably, sort of an annoying level, but you do get through it and you get to the final boss here. It's a giant squid, and the squid is just simply a joke. All he has is a one tentacle he throws out on the bottom of the ocean pool here, and all you have to do is just simply hop in the water, stay at the top, and just continue to throw your little sword out here, and you'll have the squid taken out pretty much first try. I cannot imagine anyone struggling with this boss whatsoever. But once you do take him out, you do rescue Lurch, which looks just like himself in this picture here, and he gives you the ice cube item. And now the ice cube item will allow you to put ice cubes in the water and float across them. However, there's really no need for that if you just simply go to the next level already powered up as the merman, because you can just simply swim through the water. And so I journey off into the next level here inside the mansion, which is going to be inside the freezer. And before you go into the freezer, like little knives and little kitchen utensils trying to attack you, which was a cool little animation. But you go into the freezer here, and it's a very confusing level. Like, there's actual penguins inside the freezer. It feels like more you're transported to a far off world, or transported down to like Antarctica or something, or the very bottom corner of South America. But regardless, all these penguins are coming at you, and the ice mechanics are very, very slippery. And so as you're going through here, you just sort of have to time yourself and just practice your ice mechanics. It's really nothing more difficult or less difficult than every other ice level out there. Just simply be prepared. It is quite slippery, and you're trying to avoid the penguins as you go. You do have to look a couple pools of water you have to jump through. If you have the ice cubes, you could also throw the ice cubes out. But if you're still merman, what's the point? And you can go through here. Now at the very close of the level, there's not an actual boss you go against. It's simply a door at the end. You hop it next to the door, pick up like a little spike or like a little drill you can throw out, which is yet another weapon that you can use. So I guess this level here is technically optional. You may not necessarily have to go through this one, because you don't actually rescue anybody from here. But at this point, you're back inside the mansion. You journey up to the upper right hand corner of the mansion. You go up several floors here, and you're going to go into a toy box. Now the toy box has a giant box that's open. You know exactly where to go. Hop on top of it, you press the down button, and you do not go inside a toy box. Press the A button, do not go inside a toy box. You have to press the up button in order to go down into the toy box. Even though when you try to go downstairs, you have to press the down button. When you get into the toy box to go down, you have to press the up button, which is just odd little programming here. It's a really good looking level though. This is probably one of the best looking levels inside the entire game. Plenty of like little toy enemies that are trying to attack you, like little toy cars, little springs, little tops, and the best is going to be this little egg fella who's going to be walking back and forth left and right. No idea what he's about, but the music inside this level, man, this music is killer music for the game. Hands down the best song inside the game. I'll let a little bit of it play right here. I'm telling you, between the music, the enemies, and overall like the gameplay mechanics here, like hopping on different blocks and some of them disappearing depending on like the smiley face or frowny face on the block, this is the best level in the entire game. It's not repetitive. It just simply has more variety to it. And if the entire game had been like this would have been a good game overall. But you get to the end of it here, and it's a giant teddy bear who comes out swinging his little like mace around. It's like a battle. Oh, what's it called? It's got the little ball on the end, ball and chain. I don't know, swinging ball and chain mace is what I'm going to call it. I know it's completely wrong. You can tell me what it is in the comments down below, and I will agree with you because I know I'm wrong here. But all you have to do is hop behind the teddy bear, and you simply get an item out, and you just simply keep throwing the item at him, and he can't even hit you from this point, and you have him taken out maybe like 20 seconds. Super, super easy. When you finish him off, you do rescue Pugsley, and he is going to give you the most useless item in the entire game, which is a building block, which I still don't even know what you use it here for. You can throw it out in front of you and you sort of push it back and forth, but there's no platforms that I can figure out that you need to hop on to hop to a higher level. So I don't know, a very, very useless item. But you do journey all the way to the top of the Addams Family mansion here, and then you're going to fight Uncle Fester, which is puzzling because Uncle Fester is a ally to the Addams Family. Why is he turned against you here? And I just don't understand it. But when you're on the roof here, his attack is he shoots out light bulbs, which is, you know, I don't know, it's pretty good, pretty clever. I like it. They put the light bulbs in the game. I mean, it's such a iconic Uncle Fester trait here. It had to be in the game. Shoots out light bulbs, and you simply have to keep firing at him until he gets to the far right-hand corner, and then lightning will attack him, and it does damage to him, which once again doesn't make sense because his power is electricity. Regardless, that's how you defeat him. And once you defeat him, you have officially rescued Uncle Fester from himself. And so he does tell you that Morticia is in the cellar, and inside the cellar, you need to go down there to rescue her. So we journey down into the cellar here, and when we get there to go into it, you have to go into like a little wine barrel, or at least a hole inside of one in the opening, and you go in there, and this level here is also a pretty good level. You have a good variety as far as like different spikes that are falling from the ceiling. You also have like little saws that are coming around. It reminds me of like sort of a like an obstacle course, like a Mega Man game. And you also have like guillotines to avoid. I guess it's mainly like falling mechanics for this level. And when you get to the very end, you fight against the boss here, who I assume is the Tully Alfred I mentioned at the start of the game. And all that Tully does is just simply hop up and down and throw the weapons at you that you already have. Simply avoid them, and you don't have to like get close, nothing. You just stand back, fire away at the same time. And of course, Morticia is hanging over the little cauldron of fire to the left-hand side. And once you defeat Tully here, you rescue Morticia, and the game has officially come to a close. She thanks you for it. We come off as the hero, and we then reclaim the house. And there's a very much of a Addams Family ending here. It's like poison them, throttle them, hurt them, and they'll only come back for more because they like it, which fits in with the Addams Family literally perfectly, and the credits begin to roll. But let's talk about this game as an overall, because it's a mixed bag. Half the game is pretty good. Half the levels are very well designed. Half the enemies are very well designed. Half the weapons are well designed, like the fireball and the sword, and then half of them are terrible, like the building block or the ice cube or the golf club. And so you have half and half, where you have like really good power-ups, like the merman power-up, which allows you to essentially swim through water, and then you have a really useless one like the werewolf, where you just simply go a little bit faster. And I did read in the manuals there's other power-ups I didn't even find inside the game, but clearly they're not necessary because I didn't need them to work through the playthrough. And so, you know, half and half on that. The music, top tier, especially that one song for the toy level, top tier music track, wonderful for that. But overall, like, the game was just fairly repetitive, fairly bland. I mean, half the levels were very repetitive, the other half were pretty well designed, but the repetitive ones, for it to be half the game, that really drags the score down. And also, like, even the animation for Gomez, like, as you're running through here, he looks like he's just holding his arms down to the side the entire time. Reminds me of the animation in the NES game Flintstones, actually. I don't know, maybe designed by the same people. I need to look into that. But overall, like, like, why are you playing as Gomez? I'm sorry, I didn't even bring that up. An Addams Family game, like, you should be playing as, I don't know, you should be playing as Thing. That's who you'd be playing as, Little Hand, journeying around. That would make a very entertaining game. And so to choose Gomez seems like a, I don't know, a choice out of left field for to attract a audience here for the game. But I don't know, it's not a terrible game, but it's not a good game by any measure. I think 3.5, 4 out of 10. I think, man, 4 is probably more accurate, but there is just so much repetitiveness in some of the other areas that 3.5 feels. Yeah, we're going to go 3.5 out of 10 because some of those bosses felt a little bit broken as well. Either too easy or ridiculously hard. 3.5 out of 10 is the final score. But there is another Addams Family game on the Game Boy based upon the second movie, Addams Family Values, which I remember watching that as well. And I tend to remember enjoying it, but can't tell you anything about the movie if it's actually good or not. But what are your thoughts about the Addams Family game? Well, let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other videos listed up above and go out there, find a great game to play. Simply have a great rest of the day.